Beneath Michigan's calm woods, sparkling waters, and silent villages, hides a secret realm of old puzzles and spooky tales. From odd underwater rock rings to ghostly sandhills formed by sadness, this place holds more than only pretty nature. It holds lost tales, strange events, and pieces of long-gone groups of people. In this trip through Michigan's old puzzles, we'll dig up the weird, the holy, and show why the history here never truly stays hidden. The Sanilac petroglyphs. Deep in Michigan's Thumb area, wrapped in thick trees and soft leaf sounds, sits a sandstone ledge carved with strange marks. The Sanilac petroglyphs. At first look, they might seem like basic rock sketches, but the nearer you get, the more doubts start to rise. Who made them? When? And maybe most spooky of all, why? The spot called Ezebogadakasan in the Anishinaabe language, meaning written on stone, is seen as holy by the nearby Native American groups, especially the Ojibwe. The marks themselves, about 100 in all, are spread over a 1,000 square foot area of breakable sandstone, cut with signs that go from the spiritual to the puzzling. There are clear human shapes, creatures, and vague designs, each seeming to share a bit of a bigger tale. But that tale has faded with time, covered in riddles, and passed through the quiet of ages. Let's begin with what we can truly see. One of the biggest shapes is called the bowman, a person-like form with a pulled bow pointed right at another sign. Some see this as a fighter, a tracker, or maybe even a protector spirit. Others think it shows a sky battle, the sort where heavenly beings clash over the Earth's future. The pose is lively, the lines bold and sure, clearly done by a trained hand, not careless marks. Then there's the spirit figure, a big shape with what look like horns or beams. Stretching from its head, this one really sparks the mind. Is it a god? A healer in special clothes? Or something more puzzling? Maybe a picture of a non-human being met in rites or dream journeys. Close by, signs that look like turtles, birds, and wavy lines cover the rock like a puzzle ready to be solved. But here's where it gets hard. There's no sure way to date marks like these. Sandstone is soft, and wearing away never stops. Most experts guess the cuts are between 300 and 1,000 years old. It's probably made in the late woodland time, but those are just smart guesses. Spoken tales from the Ojibwe and Potawatomi speak of old family who used the spot as a holy place long before white people came, maybe pushing the dates back even more. What's clear is the holy feel the spot has. For the Anishinaabe people, these are not just drawings, they're doorways. Alive lessons cut into the ground to lead and recall. Leaders say each cut has levels of sense, often shown only after years of thinking and study. Unlike today's writing, where all is direct, these signs are made to wake the gut feelings of the mind. They're guides of the spirit, not just the earth. Of course, like many holy native spots, the Sanilac petroglyphs have not escaped harm. The cuts were first shown to non-native notice after a huge forest fire in 1881 burned away the bushes that hid them for years. Since then, the spot has faced wearing, damage by people, and good but awkward saving tries. Some of the first images have blurred past knowing, and there are sad stories of visitors or locals trying to outline the cuts with chalk or even blades, speeding their fade. Even so, the petroglyphs last, some almost boldly. Michigan's Department of Natural Resources now shares care of the spot with the Saginaw Chippewa Indian tribe, a step that has helped put the holy value of the cuts back in front. Old rites are done here once more. Gifts are given, tales are told, and maybe most key, the cuts are being read again. Not with just the cool view of digging up the past, but through the kind sound of family recall. And here's where the puzzle grows deeper. Some experts think the petroglyphs might not be alone making, but part of a wider web of old talk across the Great Lakes area. Like cuts have been found in Ontario, Wisconsin, and Minnesota. Always near water, always in. Spots linked to native paths or yearly camps. It's likely these spots made a sign trail leading people both in body and spirit through a holy land. Others have stepped even more into guesswork. A small but loud group of edge thinkers claim that the Sanilac petroglyphs could be stays of a lost group older than the Anishinaabe, maybe even before the last ice time. They show some of the more vague signs as proof of high knowledge. Star maps, power drawings, or even space visitor touch. Maine, digging up the past, turns down these thoughts, of course. but it's tough to stand at the side of that rock and not feel the load of the not known pushing close. And what about the cuts we can't see? That might be the most chilling bit. Locals talk of extra rocks once near that were either covered, taken, or broken before anyone knew their worth. Picture a book with half its sheets ripped out and burned. That's what we have left. A piece of a note ringing over ages, waiting for someone to end the thought. Even now, after years of looking, we're left with more doubts than facts. What sort of group took the time and work to make these cuts? Were they for the whole band, or just started members? Were the signs sudden, or part of a hard language we no longer get? And what tales died with the leaders who were never questioned? The spot stays open to people, though with few ways in. Guests walk softly along a wood path, eyes searching the sandstone face, as if hoping the pictures will move or talk, and maybe in a way they do. There's something old and breathing in those lines, something that pulls at the side of your mind and murmurs. There's more here than you know. Some say if you go just after sunrise, when the light hits the rock at the right slant, the cuts seem to shine. Shadows deepen the lines, and the rock face seems to wave. In those times, it's easy to think you're not by yourself, that someone or something is still looking from the tree line, that the spirits cut into rock are still waiting for the next hero to get it. The copper mines of Isle Royale. Way out in the chilly, rough waves of Lake Superior sits Isle Royale, a far-off and wild piece of ground that most folks know now for its pretty nature and moose-falf balance. But deep under its tree-covered hills and rocky walls is one of the most confusing and lasting puzzles in North American past: the old copper mines. These aren't the stays of settler taking or factory work. They bring up one sure question: who was digging all that copper, and where did it all go? Experts have long noted that Native American ways were digging copper in this area as far back as 5,000 to 7,000 years ago, during what's called the Archaic time. You can still see the hammerstones they used, smooth lake rocks used to hit at the lines of pure copper. No melting, no new tools, just raw, clean copper, taken right from the dirt. It's one of the few spots on the land where metal could be used straight from the soil. And it wasn't just Isle Royale, it's the whole Keweenaw Peninsula, which sticks out from Michigan's upper part into. Lake Superior is full of the stays of these old diggings. There are about 10,000 old mining holes, some over 20 feet deep, spread across the area. But it's not the count of holes that lifts brows, it's the huge amount of copper that seems to have been taken out. By some counts, old diggers removed over 500,000 tons of pure copper from the place. That's a huge sum, especially for a people with only rock tools. So, where did it all go? That's the doubt that's confused experts, past keepers, and explorers for ages. Because if you try to match that amount of copper with what we find in known Native American dig sites across the land, holy items, jewels, tools, it doesn't match. Not even near. A few copper spear tips here, a holy plate there, but nothing that hints at hundreds of thousands of tons of stuff. It's as if the copper just disappeared. And that's where the puzzle starts to twist. Some learned folks suggest that the copper was traded over the land, slowly spread through big trade lines that went from the Great Lakes all the way to the Gulf of Mexico and the American Southwest. There is strong proof for this. Copper items from the Great Lakes have been found in Hopewell Burial Hills in Ohio, and even among the Mississippian ways far to the south. But again, the numbers don't fit. Even counting for wide trade, we're still missing most of the taken copper. That puzzle has opened the way to more bold ideas. One of the most lasting is the thought that an unknown Old World group, Phoenicians, Minoans, or even Egyptians, crossed the Atlantic long before. Columbus got to the Great Lakes area and used its copper beds for their own needs. Supporters of this idea point to odd things like petroglyphs that look like C dash, a round dash, the dash, middle dash, east signs. Old tales that hint at guests from over the water. The huge work scale of digging that seems hard to match with the tools of archaic North American ways. Of course, main digging up the past stays very doubtful. There's no solid proof of before Columbus over ocean touch in the Copperland. No. Old boats, no Middle East tools or writings. Still, the puzzle bites at the sides of past sureness. If not Old World groups, then who? And why dig so much copper if it wasn't being stored or used close by? The deeper you look into Isle Royale itself, the more drawing it gets. The island is very far off. Getting there, even now, needs a long boat or plane ride. Yet old diggers made the trip, carrying tools and goods across risky water. Once there, they set up yearly camps and dug through hard rock base, often going deep into the dirt with nothing more than fire-toughened sticks and stone hammers. You can still see the black rock where they used fire to soften the stone before hitting it away. In late years, LiDAR scans and new ground-piercing radar have shown even bigger webs of holes and paths, some of which seem to go deeper than anyone thought before. In spots, the diggers followed thin copper lines with careful skill, almost as if they had some kind of earth knowledge that went beyond try and miss. And then there's the holy side. Among the copper items that lasted, many were not for daily use. They weren't blades or axes or fishing gear. They were fancy, shaped into detailed forms like half-moons and thunderbirds. These pieces hint that copper wasn't just a thing. It was holy. The metal held strength. The people who took it out may have seen themselves not just as workers, but as spirit. Go-betweens pulling godlike stuff from the bones of the ground. Some native spoken ways hint at this. In Ojibwe tales, copper is seen as a gift from the spirit realm. It was to be used with care, and only in ways that honored its start. Some think that the reason much of the copper is gone is because it was never meant to be gathered or shown. It was buried, given back to the land in right, or just thought too holy for everyday use. But not all the tales are respectful. There are darker stories too. Some groups speak of a time when strong beings or even giants dug the copper for themselves. Non-human things that ruled the area long before people came. These tales are often turned away as myth, but they're steady enough across different group ways to make you think, could they be sign memories of something long lost? Then there's the spooky quiet around the end of the digging. At some point, around 1200 BCE, the digging just stopped. Not slowly, not in a slow drop. It just ended. Why? There's no mark of fight or big bad event. No change in nature that would make the area unlivable. It's as if the old diggers vanished or were made to stop. What really went on out there on Isle Royale thousands of years ago? Were these diggers lone groups of early Americans slowly cutting out copper with hand tools over ages? Or were they part of something much larger? A forgotten part of history, where ways rose and fell, leaving behind only the marks and the rock. The island doesn't give many answers. Today, the old holes are grown over with moss, the tools rusted or buried, the old camp spots melted into woods. But if you walk the rocky paths near Macargo Cove or sit quietly by Manon Ridge, you can still feel the load of what once went on there. The copper is still in the ground, shining in broken lines, and the puzzle is still in the air, thick and quiet, like the cold breath of the lake. The mysterious mounds of Niles, tucked into the southwest corner of Michigan, the quiet town of Niles, sits near the banks of the St. Joseph River. Today, it's a calm place known more for its small-town feel than for any deep past riddles. But beneath the dirt of this plain land lie old earth buildings, mounds, some still whole, others long since leveled or forgotten, that point to a group far older than the town itself. These mounds, built by people we now call the Hopewell or Adena Ways, are among the most puzzling and little-known stays of Michigan's old past. They weren't just random dirt heaps. These mounds were on purpose shaped, carefully lined up, and often filled with spiritual or right meaning. Some were grave spots. Others may have worked as skywatchers or places of ritual. And though the trees and farm tools of today have taken many of them, the early notes from settlers and old item hunters speak of big cone-shaped mounds rising from the ground like old markers. Quiet, strong, and deeply out of place in what's now a city-edged land. The Hopewell Way, named after a farm in Ohio, where many items were first looked at, grew strong roughly between 100 BCE and 500 CE. Their reach went across the Midwest, from Illinois to New York and south into the Mississippi Valley. Niles, set at a key crossroad between the Great Lakes and inner river paths, would have been a perfect spot for living and trade. And the being there of these mounds hints it was more than a quick stop. It was a center, a spiritual and social heart for people whose skill we're only starting to understand. Early writings from 19th century explorers and settlers described many mounds in the Niles area. Some were alone, standing 10 to 20 feet tall, while others were part of group setups, round and square fences, raised flat spots, and carefully shaped lines. In a time before air views or sky pictures, people were shocked at the size and care. They couldn't believe native peoples could have made something so skilled, and so the myth started. Some early Americans blamed the mounds on a lost race. Maybe the famed mound makers supposedly wiped out before the family of today's groups ever got there. Others went even more, suggesting ties to the old Egyptians, the Phoenicians, or even the makers of Stonehenge. These ideas have since been shown wrong by digging up the past, but they show just how shocking and amazing the buildings once were. Today, only a few of these old earthworks stay seen in and around Niles. Many were broken during farming, building, or road making. Seen at the time as just Indian mounds, blocks to be leveled or robbed. Items found from those that were dug up included pots, rock tools, copper decorations, and sometimes human bones. But what's most striking is what those items show about the way itself. The Hopewell weren't a basic or a lone people. They were part of a huge and linked net of trade and right that went across the east half of North America. Stuff found in their mounds came from far places. Mica from the Appalachian Mountains, obsidian from the Rockies, seashells from the Gulf of Mexico, and copper from the Lake Superior area. These weren't just things. They were holy objects carried long ways and placed with honor in mounds like those in Niles. That hints at a group that valued rites as much as living. And what about the mounds building? Some line up with sun events, solstices, equinoxes, and moon paths. This shows a deep grasp of sky study and time count, likely tied into faith-keeping. In some spots across the Midwest, mounds were set out to mirror star shapes, such as the Pleiades or Orion. It's unknown if the Niles mounds followed this sky plan, but given their way setting, it's very likely. One especially spooky detail noted in older writings is that some of the Niles mounds held many burials, often stacked over time. In some cases, the dead were buried with fancy grave stuff, pipes, jewels, or figures. In others, the remains were burned and placed in pots. It's thought these weren't just normal burials, they were rites. Goodbyes for spirit leaders, fighters, or people who had key parts in the group. But there's another level to the puzzle. Many Native American spoken ways, especially among the Potawatomi and Ojibwe, speak of the mounds not just as grave spots, but as places of strength. According to these tales, the mounds were built where the earth's power was strongest. Natural crossings of spirit force. Some groups believed the spirits of families still stayed in these places, watching over the land, leading the living. Others warned against touching the mounds, saying it could bring bad luck or sickness. In this view, the breaking of the Niles mounds becomes more than just a past sadness. It's a spirit loss, a wipe of holy shapes and family recall. And yet the land remembers. Locals in some parts of Niles have long told of strange events in areas once home to big mounds, unexplained lights in the trees, feelings of being seen. Odd animal acts, even dreams full of pictures of fire, rock, and dark shapes. Of course, not all puzzles are spirit world. Some are dig up past. In the 1990s, a local effort started to look again at some of the area's forgotten spots. Old maps were taken from storage, dirt samples were checked, and group members started to see just how much had been lost and how much might still be under the ground. Ground-piercing radar checks in nearby areas have shown odd spots, small rises, buried lines, round dips. These might be the stays of mounds, huts, or right rings, their forms just waiting to be found again. There's also guesswork that a much bigger mound setup once was along the St. Joseph River. Maybe an area right center like Ohio's Newark earthworks or Illinois' Cahokia. If true, this would fully rewrite Niles' place in North American old times. It wouldn't be a side note, it would be a main point. For now, the lasting mounds are guarded, though many stay unmarked or unnoted. A few sit quietly in public parks, their meaning unknown to passing runners or pet walkers. Others are hidden in tree lots, remembered only by local pass keepers and leaders, but they're still there, quiet, old, and watching. If you stand near one of these forgotten mounds at sunset when the air grows cool and the light slants low, you might feel something move. Not fear, just wonder. The kind that comes when you know you're walking over ground that once held right, prayers, and the remains of those long gone. The past isn't dead in Niles. It's just buried, waiting calmly for someone to hear. The Sleeping Bear Dunes legend. High above the bright blue waves of Lake Michigan, where the shore bends into tall sandhills, lies a land full of both amazing beauty and old sadness. The Sleeping Bear Dunes aren't just a earth wonder. They're the background of one of the most touching Native American tales passed down through ages. To those who know the story, the rolling sandhills aren't just grains. They hold memory, love, and loss, formed over ages by wind, time, and tears. The tale starts far across the lake, in what is now Wisconsin, where a big forest fire once burned through the home of a mother bear and her two young. Fire ripped through the trees. The mother bear gathered her little ones and ran toward the water's side. With no time left and nowhere else to go, she jumped into the wide stretch of Lake Michigan, her young following right after. The swim was long and hard. Waves rose tall. The cold dulled their feet and tugged at their fur, yet the mother bear kept going, pushed by a power stronger than tiredness. Her love for her young and her will to save them. She got to the far side, climbing up a steep sandhill to wait, out of breath and wet. Looking at the far line for the small heads of her young, she waited as the sun crossed the sky, waited as the wind changed and clouds grew thick, but her young never came. The mother bear curled into the sand, heartbroken, eyes locked on the lake. Then months, then years, and she never moved. In time, the Great Spirit felt sorry for her sadness and changed her body into a big hill so that she could always watch over the water where her young were last seen. But the story doesn't end there. Touched by the mother's loyalty, the Great Spirit made 2 islands, North and South Manitou, just off the shore. These, it is said, are her young, honored and kept, saved as part of the land itself. Together, the sleeping bear and her young form a holy three etched into the shape of the Michigan shore, and cut even deeper into the hearts of those who hear their tale. From a science view, the making of the dunes is well known. Thousands of years ago, ice sheets cut and scraped the land, leaving big piles of sand, rocks, and mud. When the ice pulled back, winds took the sand and heaped it into the big hills we see. Today, the land is always changing. Even now, the dunes move a few feet each year. But science, as right as it is, cannot explain why these dunes feel so full of life, so haunting, or why people feel urged to speak soft when they reach the top and look out over the lake. The Sleeping Bear Dunes tale is part of Anishinaabe, told and retold by the Ojibwe and Odawa peoples. But like many native tales, it works on many levels. It's not just about love or sadness. It's a lesson tale, a recall of sticking with it, giving up, and the lasting tie between mother and child. Also links the people to the land in a deep spirit way. The tale isn't just placed in the land, it is the land, and that's something non-native minds often miss. In native sky view, land, shape, and tale are the same. There's another level too, one of warning and honor. The mother bear's watch is a recall that nature keeps in mind, that the earth holds its losses just as people do. For native groups, the dunes aren't just a visitor spot, they're holy ground. And the tale is a living story, not a myth locked in a hall. It grows, breathes, and keeps giving wisdom to those ready to hear. But as visitor numbers grew in the 20th century, the spirit load of the dunes was often missed. The making of Sleeping Bear Dunes National Lakeshore in 1970 brought safety to the area, but also brought groups. People climb the dunes, roll down the sandy sides, and eat along the cliffs, often not knowing of the deeper sense under their feet. To fight this, local tribal leaders have worked with park workers to add Anishinaabe views and signs, talks, and story times. It's a slow way, but one that helps link the land back to its first voice. Even so, some areas stay on purpose, untouched. Some dunes are seen so holy that tribal members ask they not be climbed. Rites are sometimes held in hidden tree spots, often with songs and gifts meant to honor the sleeping bear and her young. These aren't shows. They're spirit acts tied into a worldview where animals, people, and land are deeply linked. And then there's the feel itself. Anyone who's walked the dunes near sunset knows there's something odd about the quiet up there. The wind speaks like it's using a tongue just out of reach. The sand underfoot moves in ways that feel strangely aware. You get the clear sense that you're being seen, not by people, but by the land itself. It's not scary. It's more like a being there, a soft watcher that remembers all. The tale has also sparked ages of artists, writers, and dreamers. From pictures to poems, the image of the sad mother bear has become a sign of lasting love. Some say that on certain nights when the moonlight is just right, you can see the shape of a bear in the dunes, not just in the wide bends of the hill, but in the shadows and feels, the curve of a back, the tilt of a nose, the feat of a breath held across ages. There are those who claim to have seen more. A shining form at the top of the tallest hill, strange tracks where none should be, sounds that copy the soft growl of a bear's call, too deep, too drawn out to be anything else. Whether these are mind tricks or rings from another realm, no one can say for sure, but the tales last. Ultimately, what makes the legend of the Sleeping Bear Dunes so strong isn't just the tale itself. It's the way the tale lives in the land. Don't need to believe every part to feel its touch. You just have to stand there at the top of that sandy hill, wind in your face, lake going to forever, and picture a mother bear looking out across the water, still waiting. That's the wonder of old tales. They turn lands into memory. They keep the past alive in the now. And they recall us that not all love ends in meeting. But some love becomes forever, cut into rock, shaped into sand, and spoken through ages by the very earth itself. The underwater stone formation in Grand Traverse Bay, beneath the cold, green-blue waves of Grand Traverse Bay, just off the north shore of Michigan's lower part, lies a puzzle that has confused divers, experts, and spirit searchers alike. Found in 2007 during a normal underwater pass survey, a row of big stones, some weighing hundreds of pounds, sits on the lake bottom in a setup that seems far too on purpose to be natural. But what truly shocked the puzzle group was the finding of one special rock marked with what looks like the cut of a mastodon. If real, that one cut could change all we think we know about the human past of this area. Let's start with the setup itself. Underwater, about 40 feet below the top, the stones are set in a straight line going dozens of feet across the lake bottom. Divers call it as a kind of underwater path or fence. The stones are much the same size and spaced even to be from chance or ice move. In fact, their lineup is strangely exact, almost as if they were put down as a right path or time marker. Underwater past expert Dr. Mark Hawley, who led the group that found the setup, was using sound waves to look for lost ships when the picture of the stone line first showed. What they hoped to find was wood or metal. What they found instead looked like something old, something that shouldn't have been there. And then came the mastodon. One of the rocks in the line has marks, clear lines cut into the stone. To the untrained look, they might seem like scrapes or wear from ages underwater, but when checked close, the pattern forms. The clear outline of an animal with a long nose, bent tusks, and a humped back. A mastodon, a gone Ice Age creature that walked North America more than 10,000 years ago. If this cut is true, and that's still a big maybe, then it hints that humans were in Michigan far earlier than usually thought. To have seen a mastodon, let alone cut its look, the maker would have needed to be in the area before the end of the last ice age that pushes back the time of settling by thousands of years and brings up a flow of other doubts. Who were these people? Why did they cut this? And what was the point of the whole stone line? Maine past experts have gone to the site carefully. Some say that the mastodon cut could be by chance natural lines seen as art by hopeful eyes. Others say the lineup could be from ice push, not human plan. But the space and direction of the stones seem to fight that answer, and the spot adds strength to the puzzle. You see, around 10,000 years ago, much of Michigan was not water, but dry land. The ice had only just pulled back, and what is now Lake Michigan was a much smaller water. Areas like Grand Traverse Bay would have been dry or wet ground, a perfect spot for moving animals and the people who chase them. If early hunter-gatherers lived in this land, they would have needed ways to lead moves, mark lands, or do rites. The stone line might have served any or all of those points. One idea getting soft support is that the spot was a drive path, a way used by old hunters to guide big game into kill spots. Big stones might have made natural walls leading mastodons or other big animals toward a waiting group of hunters. If this idea holds, it could show one of the oldest known hunting builds in North America, and that would be huge. But not everyone sees the setup as for use. Some think it was right, maybe a holy spot lined with sky events. It's native ways across North America, often told of holy stone paths, medicine wheels, and other earth builds used for following stars or linking with spirit worlds. Could this underwater line be Michigan's take on Stonehenge? Not in size, maybe, but possibly in point. To now, no big dig has been started. The spot stays mostly unlooked at, partly because of its underwater place, and partly because of the soft talks around such finds. There's a weight among official ways to call the spot human-made without sure proof. But among local groups, there's growing care. The Odawa and Ojibwe groups have spoken ways that speak of a time before the lakes, a time when the land went far and wide, when big animals walked next to humans. Leaders tell of holy places sunk when the waters grew, and of old knowledge now hidden under the waves. Whether these tales right point to the Grand Traverse Bay spot is not clear, but the match is hard to miss. What adds another spooky side to the tale is how quietly this find has been dealt with. Unlike other past finds that make big news and start media storms, the underwater stones have stayed mostly behind, noted in small talk places, murmured among past fans, but never really in the light. Why? Some say it's care, science, truth, waiting for more facts. Others think it's talks with officials slow to touch a maybe holy spot or start fights. But there's also an idea murmured among edge experts that something more is being kept back, that the setup might link to a much older, forgotten part of human past, one that Maine groups aren't ready to see. Those who have gone to the spot call it deeply upsetting. Divers talk of an unnatural calm in the water, of a being that watches. Sound tools sometimes fail. Near the stones, cameras have now and then caught odd flashes or light twists. Nothing solid, but just enough to make you think. And then there are the dreams. Several divers, including skilled workers, have told of clear dreams after going to the spot. Dreams of big groups of furry beasts of tall shapes moving through fog, a firelight blinking on rock tables under a sky full of stars. One diver even said he saw a huge handmark pressed in the lake bottom, pushed into the mud like a saved echo. All of it could be chance, mind stirred by the load of puzzle. Or it could be something more, a sign that the land, even underwater, still holds memory. For now, the stones stay underwater, untouched, as they have for thousands of years. Divers still go. Experts still guess, and the mastodon cut, if that's what it is, truly is, still looks quietly from its rest spot in the dark. The lake keeps its secrets. But the line of those stones, straight as an arrow under the mud, feels like a note, a forgotten sheet in the book of this land's tale. And if we ever get to read it, we may find that our past is far older and far stranger than we ever thought. The Devil's Soup Bowl, in the center of Michigan's Berry County. Set within the rolling tree lands of Yankee Springs Recreation Area, lies a odd and upsetting earth setup known as the Devil's Soup Bowl. On the top, it's a calm, natural dip. A steep round hole surrounded by thick woods full of bird sounds and leaf moves. But locals know better than to see it as just a fun land shape. For ages, this place has been spoken about in soft voices, wrapped in tales of spirits, odd events, and old power. The Devil's Soup Bowl isn't huge by Earth's measure, but it's strong enough to make you stop. From the edge, the ground seems to drop away fast, forming a deep, bowl-shaped hole roughly 60 feet deep and over 100 feet wide. Paths wind around and down into the dip, where quiet grows thick, and the air feels a bit heavier. Some say direction tools turn oddly near the middle. Others swear they hear voices soft, not clear, especially at evening. Earth experts will tell you SA ice-made hole formed during the last ice age when a big piece of ice broke off from a pulling back ice sheet and got buried in dirt. When the ice at last melted, it left the empty bowl we see today. It's perfectly natural, perfectly clear. And yet, people who walk into the Devil's Soup Bowl often come out feeling like they've stepped into something far older, far stranger, and far less clear. Local Native American tales go before any Earth answers by ages. To the Potawatomi people who once called this area home, the land was full of spirit power, some places caring and holy, others dark and changing. The Devil's Soup Bowl was seen not just as a natural part, but as a door, a kind of spirit hole where powers pulled and stayed. It was a spot of care, not banned, but never gone near without thought. One tale speaks of a strong spirit sent away from the earth who fell into the land and left a big empty behind. Another tells of a fight between sky beings and underworld things, their clash tearing the land and forming the dip. Some believe the bowl is a place where the cover between worlds is thin, a spot where dreams can form and bad dreams can ring back. Even settlers in the 1800s felt the unease. Early writings and notes mention the area with a kind of nervous draw. Hunters said their dogs refused to go near the bowl's side. Trappers swore that animals vanished there. No tracks, no blood, just gone. One known tale tells of a man who went down into the bowl alone and was found the next morning, confused and unable to talk, staring empty at the treetops. He got better eventually, but refused to ever go back. By the mid-20th century, the Devil's Soup Bowl had become a hot place for local brave ones and thrill seekers. Young people would slip out at night to stay in the bowl, hoping to see something odd or prove they're brave by just sitting alone in the middle. What they often got instead was lost sense, sudden sick feel, or a deep cold that didn't fit the weather. Some called the ground as shaking, softly but always like it was breathing under their feet. There have also been tales of lights, blue and white balls floating along the edge, sometimes flying through the trees without sound. Walkers report the feel of being followed even when alone. Cameras fail, phones lose touch, and the woods, usually full of life, fall strangely quiet the deeper you go. One of the most chilling local tales involves a man named Elias Carter, a lone farmer from the 1890s. Elias lived a few miles from the bowl and was known for his fix on sky patterns, which many think were early tries to follow stars or sky events. He vanished without sign one fall. Night, leaving behind odd signs cut into the wood walls of his barn, circles and circles, twists, and what some call a shape falling into a hole. Years later, walkers found the same signs cut into a tree near the soup bowl's side. Another tale, more new, tells of a group of campers who set tents near the bowl one summer. Sometime after midnight, they heard what they called a low, steady beat joined by flashes of light from the treetops. Thinking it was other campers playing fun, they went toward the sound only to find nothing. No people, no firelight, just the woods, still and cold. The next morning, their footmarks, hundreds of them, were gone, like the earth had taken their being. Doubters say that the tales are just fireside talk, born from the area's natural spooky feel. And sure, the sound waves within the bowl are odd. Sounds bounce strangely, making a soft word from the edge sound like it's right behind you. Fogs settle easy in the dip, giving it a from another world look, and the around woods are thick enough to fool the eyes. But even doubters agree something about the place just feels wrong. Then there's the thing of the dreams. Many people who went to the bowl have told of strangely clear dreams after, often coming back. In them, the woods look darker than real, and the bowl shines softly like a moonlit hole. Some dream of going down into it and finding builds, rock tables, steps, or doors going underground. One woman who went only once and never went back said she dreams of standing at the bowl's middle, unable to move while no-face shapes ring the edge above, watching in quiet. Of course, there's no proof, no solid fact, just tale after tale, piled over time like the leaves that cover the wood's floor. But sometimes puzzle doesn't need proof. It just needs being there, and the Devil's Soup Bowl has that in plenty. Today, the spot is a mix of walk path, earth show, and local tale. Families eat on the outer edges. Park signs give the science answer. But those who know the older tales walk a bit slower near the side. They hear the wind. Look back more than usual. Some believe the bowl is just resting, that the power in it is quiet, waiting. Its thoughts, others think it's already working, speaking to those open enough to hear. Whatever the truth, the Devil's Soup Bowl stays one of Michigan's strangest, most pulling old puzzles. A place where earth study and folk tales meet, where science draws the line but tale fills the shade. And when the sun sets, throwing long shadows over the side, the bowl lives up to its name. It doesn't yell, it doesn't cry, it waits, calm and quiet, like it recalls something the rest of us lost. Mysterious Michigan megaliths, Allegan County. Deep in the tree-covered parts of Allegan County, set between twisting country roads and dark pine woods, lies a little-known puzzle that has drawn edge past diggers, local tale-tellers, and spirit searchers for decades. Known only in soft-talk groups as the Michigan megaliths, these puzzling stone setups have never made big news or pulled huge crowds, but for those who know of their being, they raise a huge chance. We're old peoples in Michigan, building with big stones and on-purpose lined patterns. Long before today's history notes, they had the skill. Unlike the known big stones of Europe, Stonehenge in England, Karnak in France, or the dolmens of the sea around the middle east, the said Michigan big stones are soft. They don't rise high in open fields. Instead, they're low to the ground, half under, spread across tree clearings and hill lines. And that's what makes them so easy to miss and so easy to push away. But the people who've looked at them say they're not by chance, not ice junk, not natural. The first signs of these puzzling builds came in the 1980s, when walkers and hobby pass diggers in Allegan County started seeing unusually set stone groups deep in the woods, often far from any known paths, homes, or new builds. Some were in straight forms, others round. Many had stones that seemed to have been shaped or placed with care, balanced, piled, or lined in ways that nature alone couldn't make. At one spot, a row of big rocks, each nearly the same size, goes for several hundred feet, pointing almost exactly north to south. At another, a ring of stones makes a near-perfect circle with a bigger flat-top stone at its heart. More pulling still, some stones seem to mark sky events, equinoxes, solstices, moonrise spots. The care isn't by chance. These lineups hint at an understanding of sky study, a deep old kind of knowledge passed through ages. But here's the point. No one knows who made them. Official pass notes in Michigan don't see these spots. As true old-time builds, they're not guarded. They're not looked at. In fact, most are not written down at all, known only through talk, hidden map marks, and the no-end fuzzy pictures shared online. Some of the spots have been partly broken by time, weather, or curious guests. Others have been covered by tree growth or home building, fading back into the land. Still, the tale lasts. And for those who've spent time near the stones, camping, thinking, mapping, there's a shared feel of being there. The sense that someone or something once used these places for holy or right reasons. Some report an almost pull like a magnet to the heartstones. Others call odd animal acts nearby. Deer that stop and look. Birds that stay away from the area fully. A few speak of clear dreams or strange matches after going. Not proof in the science way, but surely acts that leave a sign. Among the most looked at of these spots is a place known by locals as the Ridge Circle, hidden near a hill line east of the Allegan State Game Area. The circle itself is soft, roughly 30 feet across, made of medium stones, all worn smooth by age. But when seen from above using drone views or LiDAR checking, the evenness becomes clear. The stones aren't by chance placed. They form a near-perfect ring. Some are set deep in the earth as if they've sat still for ages. At the heart lies a wide flat stone about 5 feet across, moss-covered and a bit raised. Looks like a table, though there are no cuts or writings, just its form, its standout, and the spooky quiet that wraps it. Guests who've spent nights near the Ridge Circle call an overfull calm. No crickets, no wind. Some speak of electric tools failing out of nowhere, phones dying even with full power. A few have tried using water-finding sticks or field meters, claiming high reads within the ring. Again, this isn't main science, but it draws a picture. Something is wrong here. Then there's the thing of spoken way, though main learning doesn't link the Michigan big stones with native past. Some Unashained leaders speak of stone places in the deep woods, spots of power, memory, and spirit pass. Tales tell of family placing stones to mark trips, follow stars, or talk to the spirits of the land. According to these ways, the earth itself speaks through such setups, lining stone with power, time, and point. One leader told a tale of singing stones found in the woods, rocks that would hum or shake under certain ways, especially during solstice. Whether real or as a sign, these tales hint the stones weren't just marks. They were partakers active and right alive in a way we no longer see. But if these were native holy spots, why the hidden? Why no wide group recall? The answer sadly may be in holding down. Through the 19th and early 20th centuries, native spirit ways were fully banned and holy spots were broken or missed. Much of the knowledge was pushed under, kept only in pieces, guarded by quiet. Of course, not everyone agrees these builds are old. Some say the big stones are simply old. Field rocks moved by farmers in the 1800s. Michigan's ice past left behind countless rocks and big stones, many of which were reset by early settlers. And that's a fair thought, but again, it's the care, the lineup that makes these different. Field clearing doesn't make stone rings lined with sun events. It doesn't make straight rows that go for hundreds of feet across bumpy woods ground. Then there are the doubters who think the puzzle is a new folktale, city legends born from two active minds and web repeat rooms. To them, the Michigan big stones are a mix of seeing shapes where none, hopeful think, and the human way to find sense and chance. But what if they're not? What if, spread through the woods of Allegan County, there really are the remains of a long-lost holy land, older than we get, deeper than we own? What if the people who made them weren't basic at all, but tuned to a worldview that saw the earth as breathing, stars as teachers, and stone as memory made hard? That chance stays in the quiet times when the woods grow calm, and the last light of day throws long shadows over mossy stone. If you happen to find one of these setups, maybe by chance, maybe not, you might not feel anything right off, but as you stand there, you'll feel a strange kind of pull. Not just body, but heart, like you're being seen or welcomed or recalled.